a deceptive nut, when healthy, becomes harmful. Everyone grabs a handful of nuts believing they're the pinnacle of healthy snacking, don't they? We see them everywhere, praised for their good fats and heart benefits. But what if I told you that some of those very nuts, the ones you might be eating every single day, are silently plotting against your health, especially if you're over 60? It's a shocking thought, I know. In just the next few minutes, we're going to uncover 5 common types of nuts that, because of how they're processed or how much we eat, could actually be chipping away at your well-being, potentially even shortening your lifespan. Think about it. Millions of seniors snack on these daily, completely unaware of the hidden dangers lurking in what they believe is a health food. Are you one of them? Don't be left in the dark about what's really in your snack bag. The biggest surprise? Often, it's a common practice in food processing, something manufacturers rarely highlight on the front of the package, that turns these nuts from a trusted friend into a sneaky foe. It's this hidden aspect that creates a real conflict between what you think you're eating and what your body is actually dealing with. So, could your favorite healthy nut be the real reason your energy is down, your blood pressure is stubborn, or your digestion just feels off? This isn't about scaring you or making you give up all your favorite snacks. Not at all. This is about clarity. We're going to look at Arthur, for instance. He's right there with his bowl of mixed nuts, a daily staple. But now, a flicker of doubt crosses his mind. He picks one up, really looks at it, maybe for the first time. What will he find? And more importantly, what will you discover? Stick around, because the answers might just change your daily habits forever. The salty trap. How peanuts can overload your system. Arthur's gaze drifts from the mixed nuts to a specific, familiar container on his shelf. The first nut we need to unmask, the one that often sits innocently in a salt-dusted pile, is a crowd favorite, the salted peanut. Carl, 72, absolutely loved his game time ritual. A big tin of salted peanuts, always within arm's reach. Just a little crunch, he'd chuckle, completely oblivious that each salty handful was nudging him closer to a serious health crisis. You see, these salted peanuts, so seemingly harmless, so convenient, even a bit nostalgic for many, can quietly morph into one of an older adult's most dangerous daily snacks if eaten too often. The problem isn't usually the peanut itself. No, the real issue is that heavy, invisible cloak of salt it wears, a salty burden that often sends your daily sodium intake skyrocketing with just a small portion. Imagine Carl settling into his recliner, the familiar pop of the tin lid, the satisfying crunch. A simple pleasure, right? But under the surface, trouble was brewing. His blood pressure started to creep up, a stubborn number that just wouldn't budge, even with medication. His wife, Sarah, began to notice other worrying signs. His ankles, more often than not, were swollen by evening. With each doctor's visit, the tension grew, their concern over his consistently high readings becoming more and more pronounced. Then, one quiet afternoon, while Carl was napping, Sarah idly picked up that ever-present peanut tin. Her eyes drifted to the nutritional information. They widened. Over 400 milligrams of sodium per serving, she later gasped to her daughter. When she asked Carl about it, he admitted, a bit sheepishly, that he usually munched through several servings a day, especially if the game was a nail-biter. And there it was, the aha moment. The beloved salted peanuts were, without a doubt, a primary culprit behind his escalating health problems. You have to understand, excessive sodium, a key feature of so many salted peanuts, doesn't just make food taste good. It wages a silent, relentless war on your cardiovascular system. Over time, it makes blood vessels stiffen and lose their vital flexibility. It directly forces blood pressure upwards, placing an enormous, continuous strain on the heart. For seniors like Carl, whose arteries have naturally become less pliable after decades of tireless work, this added strain is particularly perilous. Dumping high-sodium foods, especially these concentrated salty snacks, into your system increases fluid volume in the bloodstream. This, in turn, forces the heart to pump harder and faster, struggling to push that extra fluid through already aging vessels. Is it any wonder this can significantly hike up the risk of heart failure, stroke, and kidney decline? A look of dawning suspicion, maybe even a little betrayal, crossed Carl's face as he stared at that nearly empty tin. "No more," he declared, a new finality in his voice. He made the switch, a decisive one, replacing his daily tins of salted peanuts with unsalted almonds and fresh fruit. Fast forward a few weeks. A genuine broad smile spread across Carl's face during his doctor's appointment. The doctor, equally pleased, confirmed significantly improved blood pressure readings. "It was the peanuts, Doc," Carl said, a hint of lingering amazement in his voice. "All along. What makes these salted peanuts so incredibly tricky is that they often don't taste overwhelmingly salty, especially once your palate gets used to them. Our taste buds are quick to adapt. The more salt you eat, the less your tongue actually registers its intensity. So, even if you're thinking, it's not a problem for me, your body might be sending out subtle distress signals, perhaps through swollen ankles, persistent headaches, or that odd feeling of pressure behind your eyes. Reading labels for sodium content? Absolutely non-negotiable. Your body, after all, always keeps the score. Carl's victory over that hidden sodium was a wake-up call, a real testament to the power of awareness. But hold on, salt isn't the only seemingly innocent coating that can transform a healthy nut into a health hazard. What about that sweet, crunchy allure that tempts so many of us? The sugar-coated deception. Almonds that spike your sugar. So we've dodged the salt minefield. But what happens when we wander from salty to sweet? The snack aisle, let me tell you, offers another incredibly tempting, yet equally deceptive trap. Imagine Patricia, 69, her face beaming as she tells her friend about her fantastic new healthy snack. A big tub of honey-roasted almonds. "They're great for the heart," she'd heard. And let's be honest, almonds in their natural state do have a stellar reputation. Months later, though, a routine checkup delivered a shocking, unwelcome piece of news: prediabetes. How could this happen? The allure of those sugar-coated almonds, whether they're glistening as honey-roasted, sparkling as candied, or smoothly glazed, is powerful. They sit there on the shelf, looking so harmless, such a delightful little treat nestled amongst their plainer, perhaps less exciting brethren. But for older adults, they come with a hefty, often invisible, hidden cost. What kicks off as a seemingly innocent handful of sweet, crunchy nuts can quietly, insidiously, become a daily blood sugar roller coaster. And that's a ride that wears your body down much, much faster than you might ever expect. The real villain here? It's not the almond itself, but that generous, sticky layer of sugar baked right onto its surface. Patricia had dived into her new snack habit with real enthusiasm. That large container of honey-roasted almonds became a permanent fixture on her kitchen counter. An easy grab-and-go option. A handful while she was engrossed in a book, another handful while catching up on her favorite TV shows. She genuinely felt she was being virtuous, making a truly heart-healthy choice. The first hint of trouble, the rising tension, began during her doctor's appointment. It was all in his concerned expression as he reviewed her A1C results, that crucial marker for blood sugar control. Patricia was utterly bewildered. "But I eat so healthy," she protested, a note of genuine confusion in her voice. The culprit remained stubbornly hidden until Patricia, prompted by her doctor's concern, finally took a closer look at the almond nutrition label. Her eyes scanned the tiny print, then widened in disbelief. "This can't be right. There's nearly as much sugar in a small serving as there is in a cookie," she later exclaimed to her daughter over the phone. "Here's the deal. Almonds in their raw or simply dry-roasted form, absolute champions of health. They're packed with those good-for-you healthy fats, plenty of fiber, and that deeply satisfying crunch that supports both heart and brain function. But the moment they undergo that sugary transformation, much of their intrinsic value evaporates, replaced by a sneaky payload of added sugars. These sugars, especially in treats like honey-roasted or caramelized almonds, can send your blood glucose levels soaring with alarming speed. This is a real red flag for seniors, whose metabolism has often naturally started to slow down and whose insulin sensitivity might be lower than it was in their younger years. This natural physiological shift makes them far more vulnerable to the dramatic, damaging swings in blood sugar these kinds of snacks can unleash. And it doesn't stop there. It's not just the sugar you can see. These sugar-coated nuts are frequently roasted in cheap, pro-inflammatory oils like canola or soybean oil, a practice that just compounds the negative health effects. Think of it as a double whammy. The sugar hit plus the inflammatory oils. This nasty combination not only undermines your health but also actively fuels cravings, potentially leading to overeating. And those cheap oils? They often carry their own shadowy set of health concerns, effects that are easily overlooked when the focus is only on the nut part of the snack. Patricia, now armed with this startling new understanding, made an immediate change. She started pairing just a few raw almonds with crisp apple slices or a couple of naturally sweet fresh dates whenever she craved that little something sweet. I was basically eating dessert all day long without even realizing it, she later confessed to her friend, a rueful shake of her head. Her story is a potent wake-up call for all of us. If ingredients like corn syrup, maltodextrin, or anything ending in "ose" are lurking near the top of that ingredients panel, you're likely not holding a health food. You're holding candy, cleverly disguised. And believe it or not, sometimes there's another hidden ingredient often found in these supposedly healthy roasted nuts that you absolutely need to be aware of. Patricia sidestepped the sugar trap. True, but not all dangers come from what's coated on the outside. Some nuts, you see, harbor issues deep within their very nature, especially if we consume them a little too eagerly. What if the nut itself, even in its natural, unadorned state, could be the problem? The cashew conundrum, hidden oxalates and inflammation. Beyond the obvious culprits of added salt and sugar, even a plain, unassuming nut can harbor its own secrets. Let's consider Leonard, 77. His nightly ritual of enjoying a healthy treat of cashews slowly unraveled into a painful, perplexing mystery. Leonard would meticulously measure out a small handful of cashews each night before settling down for bed. "My healthy treat," he'd murmur contentedly, savoring their distinctively rich, creamy texture. In his mind, they were a completely guilt-free indulgence, a small reward at the end of the day. But over the course of about a year, an agonizing, persistent pain began to creep insidiously into his fingers and knees, a silent, nagging torment that had no immediately obvious cause. Cashews. Oh, those buttery delights. They're often lauded for their unique taste and deeply satisfying crunch, making them a popular daily go-to snack for countless seniors. And yes, while they certainly do contain some beneficial nutrients, they also come with a significant, often overlooked, catch, particularly when eaten in large amounts or on a very frequent, daily basis. The issue? Cashews are relatively high in oxalates. Now, oxalates are perfectly natural compounds found in many plant foods. In small, infrequent amounts, they're generally harmless for most people. However, when consumed in larger, more regular doses, especially by individuals over 60 or those who might have pre-existing sensitivities, they can begin to cause some pretty significant problems, quietly contributing to things like kidney strain and uncomfortable joint issues. Leonard's joint pain didn't just appear. It steadily worsened over time. His doctor, initially puzzled by the consistently rising inflammation markers in his blood tests despite Leonard's otherwise commendable healthy lifestyle, began to scrutinize his daily diet with a more critical eye. They went over everything he ate, bit by bit. When the daily cashew habit finally came to light, Leonard's reaction was one of genuine surprise. "The cashews?" he questioned, his brow furrowed. "But they're natural. They don't have all that salt or sugar added like some of those other nuts." The tension in the consultation room was almost palpable as the dawning realization hit. This supposedly natural and healthy food was, in fact, betraying him. It's actually quite interesting. Oxalates are just one type of compound sometimes referred to as an antinutrient, and they're found in many perfectly healthy plant foods. Things like spinach and rhubarb are also quite high in them. These compounds aren't inherently bad. Many, in fact, play protective roles for the plant itself. However, for some individuals, and this is particularly true for seniors whose systems might just be a bit more sensitive, understanding the balance and the potential impact of consuming large quantities of high oxalate foods becomes increasingly critical. It's one of those often misunderstood nutritional concepts that even natural isn't always benign if the dose is too high or too frequent. So what's the big deal with oxalates? Well, they have this peculiar property of binding to calcium in the body. When oxalate levels in your system are consistently high, these compounds can form tiny, sharp, needle-like crystals. These crystals can then start to accumulate in the kidneys, potentially leading to the excruciatingly painful formation of kidney stones. Or, they can decide to take up residence in the joints, which can exacerbate conditions like arthritis or even cause new, unexplained joint pain and inflammation. For seniors who might already be at a higher risk for developing kidney stones, or for those already managing conditions like joint stiffness or arthritis, a consistently high oxalate intake from a concentrated source, like daily large servings of cashews, can quietly, stealthily make things considerably worse, often without any obvious immediate warning signs. Following his doctor's insightful advice, Leonard decided to make a change to his nightly snack routine. He swapped out his beloved cashews for walnuts and macadamia nuts, varieties known to be significantly lower in oxalates. Several weeks passed. Then, gradually, he began to notice a tangible difference. The persistent, uncomfortable swelling in his hands started to diminish. That frustrating morning stiffness, the kind that had made his first hour of each day so difficult and uncomfortable, began to ease its grip. "It's like a fog has lifted from my joints," he joyfully told his wife one morning, flexing his fingers with a broad, relieved smile that genuinely reached his eyes. The rich, buttery cashew isn't an evil food, not by any stretch. But the lesson here is that moderation is absolutely crucial, as is embracing variety in one's diet. Are you, perhaps without realizing, carefully measuring your intake of these high oxalate nuts? Or could your favorite healthy handful be inadvertently contributing to an oxalate overload? And the questions, unfortunately, don't stop there. What if the nut itself is perfectly fine in moderation, but the way it's processed before it even reaches your kitchen pantry transforms it into a sneaky Trojan horse for widespread inflammation? Reclaiming your snack power. The simple truth about nuts. Having navigated these 5 rather revealing nutty pitfalls together, it's crystal clear that the path to truly healthy snacking, especially for seniors, requires a lot more than just good intentions and a glance at the front of the package. Let's circle back for a moment and reflect on Arthur, the gentleman we met right at the beginning of our journey. Initially, he might have looked at his customary bowl of mixed nuts with a new, unsettling flicker of doubt, perhaps even a touch of fear, after hearing such cautionary tales. Now, hopefully armed with a much deeper and more nuanced understanding, his gaze is one of informed awareness, not apprehension. He's empowered. The absolutely crucial takeaway, the sound bite to remember, is this: nuts themselves are generally not the enemy. Far from it. In their natural, unprocessed state, most varieties offer a fantastic wealth of nutritional benefits: healthy fats, fiber, vitamins, minerals, the works. The real issue, as we've explored through the eye-opening stories of Carl, Patricia, Leonard, Susan, and Marvin, lies predominantly in what's done to them during commercial processing: the alarming amounts of added salt, refined sugar, unhealthy inflammatory oils, and that bewildering array of artificial chemicals, or, in some cases, simply in consuming even the good nuts in unmanaged, excessive quantities. This distinction is particularly vital and cannot be overstated for seniors, as aging bodies often exhibit an increased, sometimes profound, sensitivity to these potentially harmful additives and excesses. Those trusty kidneys, hard-working hearts, and diligent digestive systems that have served you faithfully for decades can, quite understandably, become more easily overwhelmed than they once were. Now, let me be clear, this isn't about instilling fear or trying to advocate for the complete and utter abandonment of snacking. Snacking is, for many, an enjoyable, convenient, and sometimes even necessary part of daily life. Instead, the goal here is true empowerment through knowledge. The core message is that even seemingly small, mindful choices can make a monumental, tangible difference to your long-term health and overall vitality. Just think about it. Swapping out one type of heavily processed, additive-laden nut for a simpler, cleaner, more natural alternative is an incredibly powerful first step towards better health. It's a choice you can make today. And remember that secret we hinted at in our introduction? It's the often undisclosed, insidious cumulative effect of these widespread processing methods and synthetic additives. Individually, a tiny pinch of salt here or a minuscule dash of sugar there might seem utterly insignificant, hardly worth a second thought. But when these are consumed regularly, day in and day out, through various processed foods, including those seemingly healthy snacks like certain types of nuts, their combined impact can silently, stealthily chip away at your precious health over time. This truly underscores the immense importance of becoming a vigilant label detective, diligently reading, and more importantly, understanding those often confusing ingredient lists. So, instead of Carl's perilously salty peanuts, Patricia's blood sugar-spiking sugary almonds, Leonard's oxalate-heavy excess of cashews, Susan's oily and inflammatory macadamias, or Marvin's chemical-laden flavored mixes, let's visualize them, and you now confidently enjoying fresh, whole foods. Imagine reaching for a handful of truly raw almonds, some lightly dry-roasted walnuts, or perhaps even making your own delightful, naturally seasoned nut mixes at home. The narrative here, as you can see, shifts decidedly and hopefully to one of genuine hope, proactive self-care, and taking back control. These small, conscious shifts in your snacking habits aren't just about avoiding potential illness down the line. They are powerful, daily acts of choosing yourself, choosing vitality, and actively investing in your future well-being. Your body, without a doubt, deserves the truth about what fuels it, and now, with this clarity, you have that truth. So, what's the next step? Choose wisely, snack simply, and go ahead and reclaim your well-being, one mindful, delicious handful at a time. Don't you think it's time you knew exactly what you were eating? If this has opened your eyes, smash that like button. Share this with someone you care about who loves nuts, and definitely subscribe for more truths that can help you live your best life. What's one change you'll make after hearing this? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you.